Obliteration of Benjamin. In our last story, we learned about the downward spiral of Israel. Everybody did what was right in their own eyes, paying no attention to God's law or example. Some men from the tribe of Benjamin brutally raped the concubine of Levite. As a message to the people of Israel, the Levite tore his concubine into pieces and spread her limbs to all the 12 tribes of Israel. The message was received loud and clear. Now we see the rest of Israel take note. They rise up against the Benjamites, and a civil war breaks the backbone of God's people, inspired by the book of Judges. The limbs of the Levite's concubines swung in front of all 12 tribes. They looked both disgusted and terrified at the sight. The Levite's story of what happened that night spread like weeds. Every chief listened as they were told of the men of Benjamin raping and murdering the woman in place of the Levite man. Upon hearing the news, a strange resolve came upon each tribe. It was almost as if they were realizing just how far Israel had fallen from the will of God. All the people of Israel assembled together as one nation. 400,000 able-bodied men with swords gathered at Mizpah to hear the Levite's story and seek the counsel of God. The tribe of Benjamin heard of their gathering, but decided to remain home. The leaders brought the Levite out in the open to share his story. There the Levite spoke of his travels and how the men of Benjamin sought to rape him, but instead brutalized his concubine and left her for dead. All the people spoke as one man, saying, "Benjamin shall not go unpunished. We will take the men who have done this and go up against them." So the 11 tribes finally united as one nation to rise up against the tribe of Benjamin. Together they made provisions and prepared for war. They marched towards Gibeah and camped at its outskirts. The next day the tribe sent men into the city to speak with the leaders. They spoke together, saying, "What has possessed you as a tribe? Give up the men who killed the woman so we can purge Israel of this evil." The Benjamites refused. Corruption had made its way into the innermost parts of their collective heart. They knew no sense of nobility, no mercy, no remorse. All they knew was that Israel wanted to take away the freedom for them to commit evil. The disdain of Cain seeped its way into their minds. They raised an army to fight against their brothers. 26,000 Benjamites drew their swords and stormed the valley of Gibeah. Among the men were 700 mighty Gibeonite warriors. Their swings were fast and their aim was impeccable. They could sling a stone at a hair and aim true. The people of Israel rose from camp to Bethel. There they met with God as Abraham did years before them. With Benjamin approaching fast, the Israelites inquired of God, saying, "Who shall lead the charge first against Benjamin?" This was the first time Israel had reached out to the Lord in years. Their prayers were like rusted metal left alone for years to collect dust. Yet God heard their prayers like a sweet aroma. God did not delay in responding to them. "Send Judah first," God commanded. So the tribe of Judah arose and descended towards the battlefield. Tribe clashed with tribe, brothers clashed with brothers, and the blood of Benjamin and Judah painted the grass below them. The Benjamites overpowered Judah and struck them down with a colossal force. 22,000 men fell that day, and the tribe of Benjamin puffed its chest in victory. Yet courage did not leave the people of Israel. They stood before God again, determined to reinstate him as their commander and king. They wept before God and asked if they should rise up again against Benjamin. "Go up again," God said boldly. So again they formed a battle line in the same field. The Benjamites raged towards them like a pack of wild wolves. Israel planted their feet firmly in the ground and raised their shields. Benjamin leapt towards them with swords and spears. Israel crumbled before them. 18,000 men were torn limb from limb under the brutal claws of Benjamin. Again the people of Israel limped their way up the mountain towards Bethel. There they fell before God and sacrificed to him. They fasted, prayed, and wept. Defeat had snapped them out of their apathetic days. On that mountain, the children of Israel communed with their Lord. A sweet intimacy could be felt among them as they raised their voices to their king. There they asked God again, "Shall we go up against Benjamin?" The Lord spoke again, this time promising them victory, saying, "Go up against Benjamin, and I shall give them into your hand." The men of Israel sent 30 men to clear the roads surrounding Gibeah. There they slew the men who kept guard over the roads. Then they hid in waiting, ready to ambush Benjamin when they crossed to the valley. At the end of the road, 10,000 men waited for war. When the time came, the armies of Benjamin marched up towards Israel on the roads. There they were met with an Israelite onslaught. The battle was bloodier and more terrifying than any battle they had experienced before. Men tumbled in the dirt, strangling the life out of their kinsmen. Swords flew through the air like spears, and blood caked the dirt road. The Benjamites outnumbered the Israelites 2-1, yet they could not fathom why they were losing. But the people of Israel knew. The commander of heaven and earth had gone before them. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob rose his fist against the tribe of Benjamin. The God that crushed the Egyptians and parted the seas had returned to bring justice and peace once again. The Israelite army gave some ground to Benjamin to lure them into a false confidence. While this was happening, the men waiting on the road rushed towards the city of Gibeah to burn it to the ground. Just as the Benjamites were gaining momentum, they turned to see their city up in flames. Their spirits broke, and they tucked their tails and ran into the wilderness. The tribe of Benjamin spread across the land, splitting up to escape Israel. 18,000 Benjamites fell in the wilderness. 5,000 were slashed on the highways. 2,000 of them were captured and killed in the town of Gidom. A total of 25,000 men bowed under the righteous sword of the Almighty God. All of Benjamin was utterly destroyed under sword and flame. There were no festivals of victory. There were no feasts or music celebrating the warriors. No, there was only sadness. A tribe of Israel had been obliterated for their wickedness. In actuality, it was a wickedness they themselves were not too far from committing. The men and women of Israel went back to Bethel and sat there until evening before God. They wept and mourned their fallen brothers. "Why has this happened?" they asked God. "Today there is a tribe missing in Israel." The people rose up early that next morning to offer sacrifices to God. Yet the tribe of Benjamin was not totally lost. There still remained a few survivors from the armies of Benjamin. God sought to restore them and bring the tribe back into the family of Israel. So Israel enacted vengeance on Jabesh-Gilead for their betrayal and abandonment. Then 400 of the young women in that tribe were married to the young men of Benjamin. Together, the young men and women rebuilt Gilead and restored the tribe of Benjamin. They had returned to God when all hope seemed to be crumbling before them, and God saved them once again. Yet the story of disobedience and lawlessness does not end yet. The people of Israel lived without a king to rule them or a God to worship. They did what was right in their own eyes and walked the line between good and evil. Yet the Lord follows them, seeking to restore them to himself and protect them from danger. For God made a covenant with them, and although they broke their promises time and time again, the Lord would never fail.